Bueno, nos dio la noticia la directora de que ahora teníamos este centro de recursos aquí en John Reed y básicamente nos invitó a todos los papás para decirnos que si teníamos alguna necesidad, nos explicó un poquito de qué se trataba el centro de ayuda y a mí personalmente lo que me trajo a este centro de ayuda es que quería información para saber dónde podía meter a la escuela a mi niña pequeña de 2 años 9 meses. Y a su vez, ver si tenían ustedes algún lugar para una oportunidad de trabajo para mí. Y yo en México, bueno, yo soy abogada en México y trabajé casi 10 años para el Poder Judicial de la Federación, que es parte de la Suprema Corte de Justicia. Entonces, pues, un cambio radical de vida, pero bueno, aquí estamos y mucho gusto a todos.
We know the basics, right? That families with small children need diapers and families need food support now more than ever as grocery bills have gotten higher overall. I think also though people are in need of bus passes, transportation support, sometimes lice kits or things we might not think about right away, hygiene kits, all of the other things that you might have in your home that are expensive to purchase that budgets maybe don't allow, in addition to referrals for more extensive services like dental care, vision care, medical and behavioral health services. So really it runs the gamut, but hopefully the Resource Center is a place where people can get either the exact thing that they came in to pick up or a referral that triggers that service as quickly as possible, so a warm handoff.
So I had a client who had her power turned off for 2 to 3 months. You know, she couldn't cook for her kids. She was at risk of losing her home, essentially. Her husband his hours got cut short. And this is a family of 6. She didn't know what to do. She was under a lot of stress. And me as a CHW, I was like, don't worry. Your burden falls on me. I started working right away in order to get her the utility assistance. I spoke to legal aid and to other resources here in Sonoma County. I came back Tuesday and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fill out more applications, and I finally was able to get her bill covered. I called the client and she was very excited. She was in tears.
I've been with CPI for 12 years, and I know that one of our goals was to open a family resource center in one of the most needed communities, and to be able to accomplish that goal, to be able to offer that to families at a community that is such a need for services, it's huge.
Yo le platiqué a Jenny, que es con la primera persona que me entrevisté, que mi hija, habíamos ido a la Ciudad de México de visita y mi hija había tenido un intento de secuestro reciente. Esto tiene un mes que pasó, fue apenas en las vacaciones de verano. Intentaron quitarme a mi hija, yo venía conduciendo, me pusieron una pistola en la cabeza y me pidieron que me bajara y que dejara el vehículo y a mi hija. Por lo que mi hija tiene terrores nocturnos, no quiere dormir en su cuarto. Y pues tiene mucho miedo, entonces básicamente yo vine al centro en ese día porque no sé cómo manejar la situación con mi hija.
Students have needs. They may come to school hungry. They may have dental care issues, health issues. So we want to make sure that we can address those so that the children are ready to learn when they arrive at school.
If someone hasn't had enough nutrition, if they're not sure where their next meal is going to come from, that's a driving factor. If you're not sure if you can change your child's diaper enough because you don't have a supply of those, that would be the top thing in your mind.
Every child should have access and a right to education despite any circumstances, despite poverty, despite housing instability. All of these children should have access, and having a resource center on site, we can help families alleviate that stress while their children can still get that education.
McKinney-Vento provides the rights for the education of the children and the families, but what we know is that Families need to be housed, children need to be in stable housing in order for them to succeed at school.
You know, it's stressful for children to know they worry about their parents, they worry about their siblings, they love their family and they realize that there's not stability. And like we talked about with getting your basic needs met, that becomes the biggest thought. And so it's hard to focus in school. It's hard to put that aside when it's still there. So also I'm seeing families, try to work together and double up or triple up. That's the most common housing structure that falls in McKinney-Vento in schools. And it can bring strength, but it can also bring stress because it's crowded sometimes for kids. They don't have personal space. They'll speak to me about the difficulty with not having a place to sleep that they feel is their own, or a place to sit down and do their homework that they feel they can take up.
If you look at the statistics, about a third of the families in Sonoma County right now are living well below the poverty line and can't even access like a single family home or an apartment for one single family. So what we do see is a lot of multi-generational families living together, or perhaps families living in one-room apartments, and also just having to share space with a lot of people.
Creo que uno de los mayores desafíos que enfrenta esta comunidad, en general el condado de Sonoma, es la falta de viviendas.
Housing is expensive. It's got to be the main cost for almost every family, whether you're housed stably or housed temporarily.
Unfortunately, sometimes we see a car parked near school and there could be a child and they're living there. So then how do we make sure that we're addressing that child's needs? It is really hard to figure out a system, a complex system, when you're homeless.
Housing is the biggest need in the Family Resource Center. We have a lot of families coming in asking for housing.
So the biggest challenge, sometimes it's an eternal challenge when families come in and we can't solve that problem of affordable housing. But we try our best to advocate for them and try to meet those basic needs. Clothing, food, maybe it's just a shelter for the night. We try to do what we can and what's in our control, and really also helping families advocate for themselves.
So this is a very special community where families have needs, significant needs. It's a low-income community. Many of our students are English learners, and we want to support those families. Sometimes some of our families, particularly in John Reed, may not have access to health care, may not have access to food, may have limited resources. So this is a way of bringing support and help right here to the community.
Yo creo que eso es muy importante, tener esa sensibilidad en cada cultura, en cada tradición, porque ya es demasiado difícil emigrar a este país como para venir a encontrar todos esos desafíos.
We get English-speaking families, Spanish-speaking families, and a lot of the families that we serve are underserved. So a lot of them are forgotten, a lot of them lack financial stability, and we really are seeing the impact of that.
Y vine a pedir ayuda porque a mi esposo le cortaron una pierna y todavía hasta ahorita no nos dan el disability, todavía no se lo dan. Y Gaby fue la que nos anduvo ayudando, llenando los papeles para arreglar eso del disability. Pero gracias a Dios ya el otro día ya le hablaron a mi esposo, le hicieron preguntas y ya que le van a pagar a ver cuándo le mandan.
To see the way that the CPI folks are even setting it up in terms of just being able to have conversations, just making it really light, really comfortable as soon as they walk in there. And then again, part of that is the way that we are approaching families, making sure that everything is translated, accessible. It's going home in multiple modalities so that they can find where to even get the help, and really making sure that people know that it's okay to ask for help.
If a client is coming in and they're looking for housing, they're looking for food, they're not really knowing why their kid's behaving a certain way, we meet them there. We're not expecting them to, have it all together. No, they're coming to us for a reason, and taking that first step to simply seek out help is huge. So meeting them there and really praising them for doing this really big thing and realizing, like, you know what, I might need a little bit of help.
So we're located on site at Jadwin Elementary School, where it's easy access. Families can come in when dropping off their kids.
It's a part of a parent's routine to drop off children every day at school. So we can be accessible.
The accessibility of it, I know that I can talk to them at any time, really. And again, with the price of things, the economy right now, you don't have to travel too far.
They make such a difference because schools are a meeting place for the community, and families really naturally are looking for resources, sometimes asking the principal or the teacher for resources, and to have some knowledgeable, trained staff and a welcoming environment on campus makes all the difference for families.
Family resource centers can be located anywhere, but we specifically really wanted it here at the school because we know that at the school there's a lot of issues and problems and lack of resources for the children and families that go here. So this was our target, and it did take, I'm going to say, at least 2 years for it to happen, including building that trust, building the relationships, and writing a few grants that didn't get funded, and finally finding an opportunity for a grant to be able to make it happen. Happened within that 2-year period.
One of the most important things I think you really have here at Rohnert Park, and at John Reed, is school principal, superintendent investment in understanding of the benefits and support behind the Family Resource Center.
I really wanted a Family Resource Center open at John Reed so that we could offer basic needs and access to additional resources such as support with paperwork, unemployment, housing, and just being able to really support the whole family.
Well, for me, it's really important to create a safe space, a space where parents and families can come and find trusting adults that they can connect with and share their needs with.
Pero lo más importante que yo recibí aquí, y creo que es algo que ha ayudado muchísimo a que este centro sea tan famoso, es el cafecito con mamás, en el que se creó un grupo los martes cada 15 días en los que podemos venir a hablar de lo que queramos, en el que nos ofrecen cafecito, galletas, y hacemos una mesa redonda en la que las mamás han podido tener, incluyéndome a mí, la oportunidad de hablar de las cosas pues más profundas que tenemos y que quizá no compartimos hasta con la familia, con el esposo, con amigos, ¿no? Porque a veces existe el temor de que se lo platiques a una persona que te conoce y te sientes juzgado. Entonces creo que esa parte en el que se ha convertido en un lugar seguro para que las personas vengan a compartir las más profundas experiencias que han vivido, desde depresión, no tener ganas de vivir, adicciones, pues se ha tratado de todos los temas de verdad más profundos que te puedas imaginar.
Sometimes families simply just need somebody to listen to them.
More than anything, it was her listening. She taught me some things, sure, but it was that I wasn't alone, and that I could share what was going on with me and my son, who's a challenge, but he's a beautiful challenge.
When I'm working with parents with parent education, they come to me, they tell me, wow, my kid's behavior has improved so much, and the things we're doing, the strategies we're working on that we've been practicing for weeks, they're finally paying off.
Hope, the number one most important thing, So that's probably what was, not instilled, but reinstilled. They helped me with that, resuscitated that. Because a while I was like, man, is this, is this going to change? And it has, But it required some things of me first that we're pointing out, and patience and again, looking at my son, not like he's a project or something like that. That's my boy, and I love him very much. you know, but you know, the importance of hope is like that's got to be of paramount importance.
Se nos han salido las lágrimas a todas, en el que hemos terminado una sesión de plática de 2 horas, que una vez se extendió, no sé, a 4 o 5 horas, porque no parábamos de expresarnos, y parece que una vez que se destapó la botella, ya todas pues, no pudimos contenernos, y entonces todas empezamos a expresar pues cosas importantes que nos habían marcado en nuestra infancia, en nuestra vida.
That's so important to feel that, you know, people care and they're listening.
So some of the things that we saw that parents were asking for is support in the home, support with behavior. They knew that we had our own ways of dealing with specific behaviors here at school, but they were wondering how to transfer that knowledge once they went home. Having this family resource center here on campus makes it so that it's pretty seamless. They'll come into our office and ask for that help, and we'll say, you know what, we know exactly where you can go. You can just walk right through campus, and we have some support there. They're able to offer you outside counseling support, in-home parenting support, as well as parent education nights. That made it possible for us to offer additional help for parents that are just seeking help with their children.
The foundational work is knowing what you want to do, figuring out where you want to do it, and then figuring out who the partners are. So for us, the partners were the superintendent of the school, the director of student services, the principal of where the center was going to be, and then the city of Roanoke Park, in particular the mayor, who was actually a student at this school, who had a lot of passion around making this happen. So the best way to really seek out funding to make opportunities like this work, once you build those partnerships, is just meeting with everybody, thinking about everybody. Don't think of the usual educational streams. Look at child welfare streams, look at public health streams, look at probation and law enforcement streams, and see what's out there, because sometimes you never know. There could be a layering of funding you can do and get partial through one stream and partial through another and braid it and leverage it together.
Family resource centers often have to be really resourceful in finding funding streams and connecting with grants to keep going. And so having some support through CFRA, we provide some peer support around learning what those possibilities are, because it's a hustle wherever you go.
Well, anytime you write a grant, and throw it out there in the universe, you never know exactly what's going to happen. And the very first grant that we wrote was for specifically opening a family resource center through the Office of Child Abuse Prevention. We really thought we had a good chance at it. Unfortunately, we found out later we didn't get funded. But that didn't stop us. You need that tenacity to continue going and finding the grants. So where we finally landed on was a workforce development grant, which wasn't anything in my view of where I thought we might be able to go to do this work. And we actually did get funded to hire community health workers, which is really an up-and-coming opportunity now, particularly in the state of California. It didn't pay for everything, so then we were offered another opportunity to do some planning around services, not direct services, but it would help pay for the staff involved in this work. So we were very lucky, and I think those opportunities are out there. There's community school funding and other opportunities as well in the state of California.
I myself grew up in a disadvantaged family. I grew up with a single mom, and I'm actually native to Sonoma County. So growing up, there wasn't family resource centers. When I talk about the work that I do with my mother, she always says, I wish I had that support when you guys were younger.
Yo emigré a este país hace 4 años y sé el proceso que se vive cuando llegas a un lugar totalmente desconocido. El idioma es totalmente diferente y vienes sin saber nada a experimentar por tu cuenta todo.
Why I do this work is mainly because I came from a low-income single mom household, and I would see her work those full hours and not making ends meet. And just being a kid, the weight of not being able to do anything. You know, my dad, he doesn't have papers, he's undocumented. So that put our family, the lack of closeness, and we didn't really have a complete family. So just seeing families come in saying, hey, like, you know, I'm scared that my children are being affected by this. And just, I like to share them my story too, and that their kids aren't gonna turn out bad. I'm like, look at me, I'm a community health worker. I got a college degree, like, they'll be fine.
As someone that has struggled, who has dealt with hardships, who has, you know, past trauma, who's also an immigrant.
Well, I think the type of skills that our workers bring to the table is the lived expertise, but also the problem-solving, critical thinking skills, and being able to be presented with a problem, and then really having an opportunity to sit back and figure out the strategies to get that family what they need.
In kind of the national network, there's a saying that when you see one family resource center, you've seen one family resource center. That they're all unique, that they're tailored to the needs of the community, they're often very responsive to parents, and so it takes a while to see what it is they're doing sometimes. Sometimes it looks like they're in a room hanging out with parents, but there's a lot happening in terms of they're in this position to build trust and build relationships that really connect parents to the resources they need.
I wouldn't have kept going if I wasn't feeling something was working and shifting, you know, breaking molds of thinking around parenting, you know, and a hopelessness kind of thing. I'll just keep repeating myself on that one. That's the biggest gift I've gotten, you know, as a parent.
And most importantly, having a place where they can come and be able to express their needs, and someone will understand them, even compare stories that I've been there, I understand what you're going through. That's the reason why I'm so passionate of what I do. I'm passionate of helping these families because I know the struggle.
I want the family resource centers to be staffed with people who have so much knowledge and have the ability to find out what question someone is trying to ask, even when they don't know that they're asking it.
Son personas que no trabajan solamente porque me están pagando. Son personas que trabajan con el corazón. Son personas que si tú lloras, lloran contigo. Que si tú estás platicando algo fuerte, como fue mi caso del secuestro, podía ver la cara de Gaby, de Jenny, llena de lágrimas, sintiendo la angustia que yo sentí en el momento en el que querían quitarme a mi hija.
Okay, hay una frase que me gustó muchísimo que es: recluta el corazón, entrena la mente. Yo creo que todos como agencias deberíamos buscar esas personas que tengan esa pasión por querer ayudar a los demás.
I think it was Martine that said you can't train the heart, but you can train the brain. So for me, I think if you don't like help, if you don't really like passionately working with people, it's hard to do this work. You really do have to have the strength, the resilience in order to listen to these families, because they do bring a lot of hard stories.
El trabajo lo hacen muy bien. Gracias. Que nos ayudan.
I think I've changed a lot, you know, since I started to now. And my son's kind of followed suit. So it goes back to, I think that's the thing, they finessed and lovingly put it to me like, hey, you get calm, your kid will get calm. Not to say that he still doesn't have, his normal moments of what I've come to see, that he's not, from outer space because he's got so much energy.
Por primera vez, creo que desde que llegué hace 4 años me sentí como en casa, como que tenía amigas en quien confiar, como que tenía alguien ahí para mí, como si fuera mi hermana, mi prima, mi tía, no sé, de verdad como que te hacen sentir parte de la familia, y eso es algo que hay que admirar, apreciar y valorar.